All right, let's dive into the wild world of dating advice.
Sounds good to me.
We're looking at Speak to Spark Arousal.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
This program says it can unlock female desire.
Hmm.
And just a heads up, even the marketing stuff is intense. Like, whoa.
You know, the first thing that grabbed me was how they use a story to sell it all. It's like a thriller, not just boring advice.
Yeah, it's all about this guy, Clayton,
Right.
gets dumped hard by his girlfriend, like totally
The
devastated.
classic setup. It's brilliant, actually. Anyone who's ever been heartbroken is going to feel that.
Totally. He's like the ultimate relatable underdog. You just want him to win.
Exactly. He goes from zero to hero. He's
Yeah.
powerless, then bam. He finds this secret society of dating gurus. They promise him the key to understanding women. They're like, we've cracked the code, dude.
Like, sign me up. And then they hit you with this override effect.
Right, the override effect.
Supposedly, it's this way to, like, bypass a woman's logic and trigger pure desire. I mean, is that even possible? Can you really make someone attracted to you just by saying the right things?
Well, that's their big claim. They say if you know the right language patterns, you can tap into a woman's subconscious and make her feel an irresistible pull. They even mention studies from MIT and Harvard.
Whoa, hold on. So it's not just some pickup artist theory. They're trying to back it up with science.
Yeah, they are. Now, whether the science actually holds up, that's another question. But it makes them seem legit, right? Like, hey, this is based on evidence.
It's like a triple whammy.
Yeah.
A good story, psychology, and a bit of science to sprinkle on top.
Hmm.
But what are these so-called secrets to sparking arousal?
They get into all sorts of techniques. We're talking specific phrases, body language cues, even using silence strategically. They call it the Speak to Spark Arousal system. And let me tell you, some of it is pretty controversial.
Okay, I'm hooked. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, tell me more about this override effect. How much of that is real science versus marketing hype?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one we should definitely explore further. While they might use some fancy terms, we got to be cautious about taking everything at face value.
Totally. There's no magic spell for love, right?
Not that I know of.
But maybe there are some insights we can get from psychology, even if we don't totally buy into this override effect thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to learn. Let's dig into this Speak to Spark Arousal system and see what it's all about. We'll break down their techniques, see if they could actually work, and of course talk about the ethical side of things too. So, one of their big things is seeding.
Seeding. What's that?
Basically, you plant these little suggestions in a woman's mind.
Oh?
Like you use stories and metaphors.
That sounds kind of like subliminal messaging, doesn't it? You know, trying to influence her without her realizing.
It's definitely on that edge.
Feels kind of manipulative.
Yeah, the program says it's not about manipulating, though. They say it's about tapping into those unconscious desires.
Right, right. But wouldn't it be better to just be honest? Like, just say what you want and see if she's into it.
You're right, being upfront is important. But they argue that sometimes our conscious minds block attraction,
Yeah, I guess so.
So seeding is supposed to get past those blocks and let that deeper connection form.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So instead of being direct, you're creating a vibe, an atmosphere.
Exactly. You're planting those seeds, letting the attraction grow naturally.
I like that.
And they're big on storytelling, too, sharing personal stories, especially ones that show you're a little vulnerable. It makes you more relatable, more attractive.
Makes sense. Everyone loves a good story. And when someone opens up to you, it creates a connection.
Right. It shows you're willing to be vulnerable, which is really appealing.
Yeah.
Of course, they also suggest using stories strategically, like highlight the qualities you want her to see: confidence, humor, a sense of adventure.
So it's not just word vomit, right? You have to craft your stories, show your best self.
Exactly. Authenticity is key, but you also want to present yourself well. They call it framing your narrative.
It's like branding yourself for dating. I dig it. So what else is in their playbook?
Well, there's automatic looping.
Automatic looping. That sounds intense.
It's all about triggering specific thoughts and feelings in her mind over and over again.
Wait, so you're basically creating a mental loop that keeps you on her mind. Isn't that, like, a bit creepy?
It can be. If you don't do it right, it has to be subtle, ethical.
Okay.
The program emphasizes that. Your actions have to match your words. You're not trying to trick her into feeling something she doesn't.
Right. So you're reinforcing real qualities, building a consistent image, not just playing games.
Exactly. Show those traits consistently and you'll make a stronger impression.
Yeah, makes sense. Especially when you're meeting new people trying to stand out.
It's all about staying top of mind.
Oh,
And then there's the use of silence.
silence. How can you use silence as a technique?
That's what makes it so powerful. Silence can build tension, anticipation, a sense of mystery. She has to lean in, pay closer attention.
I never thought of it like that. But a well-placed pause could definitely make a conversation more interesting.
Totally. It lets her imagination run wild. Plus, you can read her reactions, adjust your approach.
So you're being mindful,
Uh-huh.
using those pauses to create a certain mood, not just filling every silence with chatter.
They call it mastering the art of the pause. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, seeding,
Mm-hmm.
automatic looping, the art of the pause. These techniques are pretty advanced, but they could backfire if you're not careful. You could seem manipulative or fake.
True. It comes down to your intentions. Are you being genuine? Are you respecting her?
Yeah, no one wants to feel like they're being played.
Absolutely. Trust and authenticity are the foundation of any healthy relationship.
So we've covered some key techniques from speak to spark arousal. But does the program talk about the bigger picture of attraction? Like beyond the tactics, is there anything we can learn about how it all works?
Oh, definitely. And that's something we'll get into in the last part of our deep dive. The techniques are interesting, but the real gold might be in understanding the core principles of attraction and how to use them ethically and effectively.
Okay, so we've talked about some pretty specific techniques.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, does speak to spark arousal talk about the bigger picture of attraction at all? Like beyond the tactics, what insights does it offer?
Yeah, it does. Well, one thing I found really valuable was their focus on understanding masculine and feminine energy.
Masculine and feminine energy.
I've heard that phrase before, but I'm not sure I totally get it.
It's not about old school gender roles or anything like that.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that men and women, well, they often express and experience attraction differently.
Okay, that makes sense.
The program says understanding those differences is key to creating that magnetic pull.
So how do these energies play out in, like, a dating situation?
Well, they say that men are often drawn to women who embody feminine energy, qualities like playfulness, being receptive, a sense of mystery.
Uh-huh.
And women are often drawn to men who have that masculine energy, confidence, being decisive, having a sense of purpose.
That makes sense. It's like those qualities complement each other, creates that spark.
Exactly. But how do you cultivate those energies without forcing it or being fake? That's the tricky part.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where the program emphasizes self-awareness and personal growth. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. It's more about tapping into those parts of yourself that already have those energies.
So if a guy is naturally shy or introverted, he doesn't have to become some macho man overnight.
Right.
It's more about finding his own way of expressing masculinity.
Exactly. Own your strengths, be authentic. The program even gives you exercises and stuff to help you figure out those qualities in yourself.
That's cool. It's not about fitting into some mold. It's about figuring out what works for you.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the best things about the program. It encourages self-discovery and personal growth, which is so important for any relationship. Yeah, absolutely. So even if we're skeptical about some of the techniques, there's still value in understanding these bigger principles of attraction.
Totally. And the program offers some interesting perspectives on how to create that spark, by understanding how those dynamics work.
This has been a really interesting deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
We've covered some pretty controversial techniques, talked about the psychology behind attraction, even got into masculine and feminine energy. What would you say are the biggest takeaways for someone who's trying to improve their dating life?
I think the biggest thing is that attraction is complicated. It's not just one thing. It's a mix of conscious and unconscious stuff.
Right.
There's no magic formula. But understanding the psychology behind it can definitely give you an advantage.
It's about being more aware, right? How you present yourself, how you talk to people, how you create that connection.
Exactly. It's tempting to look for quick fixes or ways to manipulate people.
Right.
But the best approach is to focus on being self-aware, being authentic, and building genuine connections.
So instead of trying to hack the system, it's more about becoming a better version of yourself.
Exactly. And let that attract the right people.
Well said.
Yep.
I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive. Remember, there are no shortcuts to love and attraction.
Right.
But understanding the psychology can help you navigate the dating world with more confidence.
And be more genuine, too.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.